Okay, so can you hear me? Doing
Yeah.
okay? All right.
Yep, we do.
We got everybody in so far?
We do.
All right. Welcome,
Um,
everybody. Glad to see you. Some great familiar faces. So Rita and Susan and Danny and Jean, that's good. Cool. All right. You want to give it maybe another minute or so? It looks like we're getting pretty stable here.
yeah. If you've recently joined, if you want to go ahead and drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. Looks like we've got a few more people. Tyra,
Okay.
welcome. Got a lot of people here from Sacramento. Great.
Can you tell if it's still recording?
It is, yep.
Thanks. My screen's impaired here, so. All right.
All right, I'm gonna give it maybe one more minute and then
Okay.
see if anyone else joining in.
Joins live. All right, you ready, kiddo?
Yep, we are ready.
All right, good.
Well, perfect. Thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Katie and I'll be supporting Tyra on the Mindset Mastery webinar today. Oh, looks like we've got one more person joining us. There we go. Welcome, Heather. All right, so I want to introduce Tyra Jarvis. Many of you know her through programs you've participated in. Maybe you've seen her speak at an event or even on social media in one of her popular Transformation Tuesday videos. Tyra Jarvis is founder and president of Kepi Coaching. She works with individuals and leaders to help them navigate change and uncertainty by creating a focused plan that translates their goals into reality, allowing them to have more freedom, passion, and fun every day. Her specialties include leadership development, executive and business coaching, and career and life transition, strategic planning and implementation, team dynamics, and facilitation. She is currently board president with Stand Up Placers, supporting survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. Her focus areas are broad and leadership development. She is also a former association board president with the Executive Women's Golf Association. Tyra is passionate about life learning, empowering women and girls, volunteering, and playing golf wherever and whenever possible. Raised in Boston and Sacramento, she currently resides in Sacramento, California. She loves to spend time with family and friends and has a special place in her heart for her granddaughters, great niece, and nephews. Movies, theater, and sporting events are strong interests, and vacations not involving golf are the exception, not the rule. You guys are in for a real treat today, so grab a pen and notepad. I'm sure you'll have some amazing tips that you want to write down. If you've just joined us, let us know where you're watching from in the chat area. I'll be monitoring it for questions and supporting Tyra as she presents. With that, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Katie. And thanks everybody for making time today to join me. I'm loving this topic more and more every day. And we're going to, share some things that I've learned myself over the course of the last few months, but also where I see that it fits in many of the steps that I've taken throughout my life. I think one of the things about transformation that's so interesting and appealing to me is that it is really what makes life fun. And for me personally, I've transitioned my career 5 times and my personal life at least 6 times. And some of the highlights would be I went from a high school graduate entry-level position to a blue-collar job, and then was promoted to white-collar jobs with the company that I ultimately retired from at a pretty young age of 47, and have been navigating my career since then between contractor and consulting gigs, as well as now I'm a business owner. And what I've found is that working mindset throughout all those steps has been one of the differentiators, at least for me. And then in my personal life, I was single and then married and then divorced and then single and then widowed and then single again. And it was that journey that has also caused me to challenge and look at mindset and things that you do that might cause you to stall or maybe stand back and not really embrace life as fully as it needs to be. So we're going to talk about uncertainty for sure. And we're going to talk about how mindset can really be a success measure for you at any time. And with that, I'm going to go into the next slide. So what I distinguished pretty early in the pandemic is that the only fact of life is that uncertainty is certain. And none of us, have ever known whether we were going to have a job disruption or someone that we care about or ourselves have to confront a challenging health issue or possibly lose a loved one. But for whatever is happening now, there's a uniqueness still around the uncertainty that we're experiencing. And that is that we're all being impacted by the same cause, the same uncertainty. Now, how we respond to it and how we're impacted directly by it might be shifting. So on the one hand, you might be recovering from COVID, or you may have known someone that lost the fight with COVID. On the other hand, you also might be somebody that just knows of someone and maybe you've not been directly impacted. At the same time, work has been altered, school has been altered, how we shop has been altered. All of the systems that have operated for generations and centuries and at least many of the last decades of our living life have all been challenged right now. And it's really up to us to find systems that are going to work for us moving forward. So to do that, I'm going to make the case that mindset is going to be really key. And it's this how you respond to these changes that can either be a game changer and take you to the next level, or it will be a missed opportunity because you were fearful or you weren't sure or you hesitated too long and it was a missed opportunity or you were stuck on the sidelines. So we want to be really getting ourselves healthy enough in the head and in our mindset to be able to embrace these new challenges, if you will, and take them on as we create new futures for ourselves. So one of the things that I observed pretty early on, for me, it was fortunate. My team and I went across the new year with the idea that we were going to be doing more virtual presentations and work. I had done in-person workshops last year, loved them, but we were looking for some other ways to reach more people. And we had decided that we were going to be doing virtual. And in March, I did 2 webinars, not unlike this, but it really wasn't as focused on mindset as it is right now. It was focused more on goal setting, and really mindset does play a factor in that. And then we were successful kicking off 2 groups as a result of those webinars. And those groups provided a community, two distinct ones. One was a community of executive directors of nonprofits, and the other was a community of women that were coming together from all walks of life that really wanted some help in the midst of COVID. And it was just starting in early April. And what I've been able to distinguish from those groups, as well as my experiences with others outside as they've moved forward since the pandemic started and trust me, when we started a group in April and it was going to end in June, we were thinking we would be done in June. And here it's, this week it's going to be August, and we don't really know when the end is in sight. But what I've been able to distinguish is that the people that are, I would say, more than coping, surviving and thriving in this new environment are people that are able to stay positive. And mindset is a critical player in how positive you can stay, especially with all the uncertainty and all the news and all the unrest and people's different reactions to the stress and overwhelm of just the pandemic and the changes. But staying positive will be key to staying afloat, if you will, during all this time. And clarity and a laser focused on what's most important to you becomes also critical success factor. And when I say that, yes, a vision of what matters most, what you truly value, it does help you make quicker decisions because you're able to decide, is that aligned with what I'm focused and clear about? But you really want to get that if you have that, you don't get as distracted and you don't get as overwhelmed, and you're able to stay positive. And the reason for that is that creative can-do problem solutions to problems is really going to be what's going to allow you to exploit whatever opportunity is coming from you, and get some confidence and courage and commitment around taking an action almost despite the uncertainty. And being community minded and looking and reaching out to explore how you can help others and how they can help you. And so what I learned is that we don't have to do this alone, and we can do it with other people. And I think some of the miracles that we've seen as a result of creative programs on Zoom, and although many of us would say we're probably zoomed out and now we meet all day long on Zoom and that the novelty of it is worn out, there are creative solutions. One that I thought was most inspiring was one of my friends and clients had children, and their school obviously was disrupted, but those third grade teachers were in action within a week of being safe at home. And what they did is they got together and they determined what curriculum was going to be in the best interest of the children. And then they got ready and they rolled it out. And they weren't, I'm not saying everything is suitable for, don't ask for permission and beg for forgiveness, but in this particular case, the students were paramount, and those children were up in line in a week. And some were waiting for the district to decide, and, what's the curriculum going to be? And I'm not faulting anyone for wanting direction, especially in the uncertainty, and maybe doing what's right. I'm just saying that some people saw their way through it and were able to have a creative solution to how to make that happen. The other one that comes to mind for me is my board chair responsibilities with Stand Up Placer. We had a live event, 400 people expected, on March 21st. Well, on March 11th, we're talking, should we do something about the dance? Well, March 12th, we find out everything's shut down. There's no way we're going to be doing a live event. What do we do now? And we had a very generous sponsor come forward and say, what's the biggest challenge? And our executive director said, I don't have any other unrestricted funds. This was my only way of doing it. He committed a $40,000 match and challenged us to raise $40,000 before March 31st. Well, we started on the Friday the 13th, and I'm pleased to say that by April Fool's Day, we had raised $42,000 on our own. We earned the match, and we raised $82,000 without a live event that wouldn't have happened. And what I saw as a student of business is that it was the clarity of this vision and the alignment of all the resources and the community support and a compelling message, and obviously a generous sponsor, that allowed us to create something that didn't exist before March 13th. So, and the groups that I had, they got the support of each other. They were dealing with virtual events. They were dealing with looking for jobs in the midst of high unemployment in the market, alarming messages coming from the market. And you could believe no one is going to be hiring. And yet people are, you have to look, and people are getting jobs and they are moving careers forward. But it's staying positive, being crystal clear about what's important and what you're creating, looking for creative solutions to opportunities, and being in action, no matter how small that action is, no matter how scary it is, and doing it with supportive people around you. And one of the ways that you stay positive is that you have to be able to assess what's true. And the reality is, most of our mindset, which is your beliefs and thoughts and memories and the programs that are running in the background that we'll talk a little bit more, have been inherited. Many of them, I mean, our school system and maybe how we go to work evolved out of the Industrial Revolution. And the last several decades, the last 50 years, that has governed how we do things. And what you have to be able to do is look at it realistically and go, what is really true about this situation? Yes, there's a pandemic. Yes, I'm impacted. But how are you impacted? And can you detach fear if it's not present for you and real for you, if it's outside of you, and some emotion around that to allow yourself to see what you can control and take control of what you can control. And one of the easiest ways I've found to do that is I meditate each morning. It's part of my morning routine. It's where I get still and get kind of present to, maybe what came up for me through the night. And I get really clear, and you have to listen. So whatever it is for you, it could be prayer, it could be journaling, it could be listening to something, maybe other than the news, but really get in touch with your inner voice, the voice that resides in your heart and your soul, on what is really true about this situation and what can you do, and then align with that. And then take one small action. What's the one small action that you can really take? So there was a time probably when we were more stuck than we are now, but being stuck is really a breakdown. And when I use the word breakdown, I'm describing a situation that says insufficient action to fulfill on something that you want to fulfill on. So the best thing to do is just ask yourself, what's the next right action to take? And it could be the smallest little thing. If it was health and you caught yourself caught into a situation where you were maybe enjoying and eating and, stuffing down your emotions in the early stages of pandemic, well, maybe just a simple step is I'm going to sleep 7 hours, or I'm going to drink 8 glasses of water. It doesn't have to be the whole elephant. It just needs to be something. And again, this Tony Robbins quote is big. It's never about your resources. It's about your resourcefulness. So this results pyramid helped me to convey a couple of different concepts that I like to make. I'm a graduate of Landmark Education, and we have the be, do, have model, which on the left is be, in the middle is do, and on the right is have. And the conversation would go like this: to have something in the world, you have to be willing to do something, take action. And to do something, you have to be a certain way, your state, your mental state or your emotional state. This pyramid helps me describe that it's really the mental and emotional state that's your personal foundation. It's what everything else is built upon. And what I'm going to tell you is that I've spent a lot of time, I've generated a lot of success in my life in the results space, and throwing money and time at actions to take and classes to take and groups to join and all sorts of stuff. And I skipped over the beliefs and thoughts. They were present to me. Maybe it was uncomfortable and I didn't really want to tackle them, but it's only until now. And I'm going to tell you that it was at least almost 20 years ago that the first coach brought up beliefs and mindset to me, and the possibility of meditating and journaling and getting in touch with what was really important to me. So had I done that 20 years ago, I don't know that the results would have been, I do know the results would have been different. And I do believe that there possibly might be more fulfillment and maybe more satisfaction, because when I work with a lot of people that are very successful, they're still not happy. They still don't have joy, and they still don't have fulfillment. And I believe it could be rooted in beliefs, thoughts, memories, whatever's driving the boat there. So if you can agree, maybe put some comments in the chat. We'll come back to those. But I think this one lets you see, to really have the results that you want, you have to be willing to take action and behave a certain way. And to do that, you have to believe that you can. It's almost like the little engine that could. I think I can. I think I can. You have to believe that. And if you're telling yourself, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, there's no way I can do that, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't know how to do it. If you're telling yourself any of those things, it's going to impact what actions you actually do take. And that is going to influence your results. So your beliefs drive your thoughts drive your emotions drive your behavior, how you're being, and what actions, and then all of that drives your results. So what this concept has been coined in some of the work that I've been doing is that the one thing you can control is yourself. And that's controlling your mindset, controlling how you take care of yourself, controlling what you're tolerating. And in coaching, tolerations is anything that you're putting up with that is taking up psychic energy in your mind. And that could be in your people or relationship space. It could be in your health space. It could be in your wealth or money space. And it could be in your physical spaces. It could be how blind or deaf you've gotten to clutter or different kinds of things that could be distracting you. And when distractions come up, it's really how we play with time. Time and money are the two scarcity conversations that we'll talk about in a little bit. But not having enough time is a mindset. And have you gotten yourself so busy that you haven't created space for the things that are most important to you? Are you saying yes to things that are not aligned with what it is you want to create? And so protecting time becomes one of the key tools of how you control self. So what's getting in your way? Is it any of the things in these areas? Those might be things you might want to be looking for to see if a mindset or limiting belief might be at the root of it. So early on in my training, since I actually retired and actually since my husband passed, when I was doing the landmark work, I learned or got exposed to brain science for the first time. And it has continued on because I'm fascinated by it. And there's a Dr. David Lippman, who's, I believe, a neuroscientist, and there's many of them that believe that 95% of what's going on is going on in your unconscious mind. So what you're present to and what you're conscious to is only 5% of that conversation that's going on for you. And the risk there is that the brain is hardwired as a species for survival. In the early generations of the human being, there were real threats of dinosaurs and certain things like that. And so there was fear and you had to deal with that. And we now have a real fear, but it's our mind's propensity to want to keep you safe and keep you comfortable and keep you in routine, whether they're working for you or not, just to keep you in the familiar, because that's what the brain does. And your unconscious mind is driving these emotions, behaviors, decisions, and actions. And you want to be present to how much of that is really working for you and how much of it is real for you right now. And know that your brain reinforces what you already believe to be true. So you have to shift that, because when I say, look at what's really so or what's really true in a situation, your mind is going to see it the way it needs to see it. And not the way things are, but the way things you are. And it's going to use filters to allow that to happen. So if you truly believe nobody's going to get a job right now, nobody's hiring, if you truly believe that, you're going to listen for evidence. You're going to seek evidence to tell you that what you believe is true. And yet even high school kids were getting jobs at, baristas, and they were packing food for Whole Foods. They were finding ways to even find summer jobs, because if you looked, you would find evidence, but you had to want to look and see it the way it is. So you've got to take a stand, and by that, be unrelentless about just unrelenting around your mental state and having it survive and thrive. And this Tony Robbins quote, I believe we all take the path of least resistance, and that's the brain's way of doing that. So in doing that, there's a highway to upset and a dirt road to happiness. And most of us will take the paved road. It's just the nature of who we are. And you want to, if that's not important to you anymore, you want to look for ways that you can change that. So again, I mentioned that your beliefs, whether they're limiting or not, and scarcity conversations around time, money, ideas, and know-how, and your thoughts, how you're talking to yourself, and the judgments that you're making about yourself. So when we look at beliefs, listen to and really your thoughts. Listen to what you're saying to yourself and ask yourself, is that serving me or is that helping me? And, as adults, we learn by immersion, and we have to be willing to do things that we're not going to be comfortable doing well right away. So what is that limiting belief? I can never do that, or I would never be able to get that job, or I would never be able to, be accepted, or whatever it is for you. But scarcity will be the one that will take you out real time. This, I don't have time, and yet in reality, you're in complete control of time. You control what's on your calendar. You may not think so, and you may not feel like it, but that's a mindset. So if you take control of your time and your money, those are resources. If there's something that you want to create, figure out what that is, figure out how you're going to do it, figure out what that's going to cost, and then take actions in time and money to align the time and money to have what you want. But what happens most is I can never do that. I can never go on this trip because I never have the time or never have the money. And I encourage you to take those scarcity conversations off the table and build yourself a vision for what it is you really want, and then figure out what is it really going to cost in time and money, and then go get it. The ideas and know-how one, I would find myself getting stopped with, I don't know what to do. And I would actually get physically panicked by it. And it had some deep-seated roots. I don't know what to do. In reality, I'd always figured out what to do. And if I really looked, when else was I in a situation where I didn't know what to do and I figured it out? So I'll figure it out this time. I'll figure it out. And if it's not right, or if it's not the right thing, I'll do another thing to move it closer to what that might look like. And, just figure that's what it's really going to take. And, there's probably a lot of different examples. The one that's present for me right now is early on in my career with the Bell system, I wanted to get promoted to management. And I didn't necessarily know exactly how to do that, but I affiliated with a group of people that were where I wanted to go. Didn't know them. I was going to be doing things I'd never done before. And I really had to push back some of that, uncertainty and insecurity around what that was going to look like. But I remember when I tested for this program that I had qualified for, and I was going to take this test. And when I went in, this room was full of all these people that who are these people? I got so preoccupied with who else was there that I really wasn't thinking about me. And so you can really take yourself out real time and even stop yourself from taking an action. For me, it all worked out great. I ended up getting placed in that program, and it was great, but it allowed me to see for myself how I could have stopped myself. And I think even just this transition that I'm in right now as a business owner, I've never been a business owner before. I was a business student, and there were areas of business that weren't my focus when I worked in corporate. So I can say it's hard. There's a lot of things out there that I don't know how to do, but it's really about tackling my mindset around those beliefs and how limiting they are, and stopping them and not letting them rule what actions I actually take, and then taking actions. I mean, even webinars like this and learning technology, or even technology around changing email and shared drives in the cloud and all those kinds of things, they really are what keep your mind fresh and present. And you just don't want to be afraid to learn new things, for sure. So your beliefs do determine your destiny, as I showed in the pyramid, and the hidden scripts that are running your life. You have to ask yourself, are they working for me? If they are, keep them. If they're not, look for things that you can swap them out for. And know that your beliefs create behavior and consequence. And there is a consequence for that. Not acting, we'll talk about that in a little bit, and taking action, for sure. And you have a choice. You can keep a belief, you can keep your mindset the way it is, or you can choose to change it. It's going to take something. And I found that it's easier to surround myself with people that are like-minded, that are thinking about, growing and learning and getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and can encourage you. That becomes critical, because, as I say, having clarity about what you want and confidence to go get it is going to be key. And then having, commitment around what needs to happen, and the courage to take those commitments, especially if there's a community around you that might not be as supportive of you changing. Maybe they have a vested interest in you changing. That impacts their life, or there might be other sources around that. But community of people that really believe in what you want and are a stand for you having it can be really, really key. And you can change all of this, but it's going to be learning new things for sure. So the cost of staying stuck, if you are someone that has the desire to change and you want to change something, some element of your life, and it can be any area of your life. It doesn't have to be all of it. It's better if it's not all of them at one time, but let's say it's just something. So you want to stay connected more with friends, or you want to manage your money a little bit better, or possibly you want to manage your health during this very stressful time. If you don't take those actions, it could impact your health and well-being because you're not taking action. If you're working and you're not taking action, it could allow your productivity and performance, and you as a team player or as a team leader, it could impact that. That could impact your future career options and potentially future income, the people that want to hang out with you. And if you are a dreamer and you have a dream that you want to fulfill, staying stuck will keep you in a space that says it's not possible. And it's really through possibility that we know that we can make some of this stuff happen. So if you're feeling frustrated, stressed, overwhelmed, exhausted, depleted, and you're lacking a zest for life again, just be looking at whether you're really stuck. And is there a reboot or an upgrade required in in your hardware, which could be your beliefs, in your software around your systems, the things that you're using for time planning and strategic and goal setting and things like that. Now's the time to go look for the right tools for you to take you forward whenever the pandemic ends. Okay. So what's in your mindset? Are you on the left side of the grid or the right side of the grid? I'm here to say that if you're in the left side, there may be some things keeping you stuck. You have to decide, but there's certainly going to be things that are going to make it challenging for you to take an action into a space where you've never been before. And there's really not yeah, we've got 5 months or whatever of this being the new normal, as they say. But there's going to be something after it, and there's going to be something after we move past COVID. So these are skills that you can learn that will help you in any area of your life at any time. But it's about having a healthy mindset that will allow you to be fearless and confident and strong and focused, and looking and listening to your inner intelligence around what's going to happen there. And, when we look at what might be causing us to maybe do some things out of our comfort zone. And I remember one of my favorite quotes, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. I have several coaches that do endurance training to push themselves physically enough that they push a physical boundary that their mind has to take them over. And if you do it in sports, let's say, because that's where these examples come from, you're able to do it better in other areas of your life as well. So Michael Burnoff is a coach that I've followed and a thought leader that I've followed. He does Tough Mudders, and he signs up and he does team things, and it's all about pushing himself physically so that he's pushing himself mentally as well. And Shanda Sumner does triathlons, I believe, and she trains her people to run together to run triathlons. But my favorite is one of my original entrepreneurial mastermind coaches, and that's Allison Maslin, and she does trapeze. She's done it for 20 years. Whenever she needs to get guts to do something, she'll go out and she'll have her coach teach her a new skill on the trapeze. And she's safe, but it's what she has to do physically to push that mind to make something new happen that she's never done before, and go someplace and move that outer boundary of that comfort zone. And it all pays off for sure. So you want to look, if you are deciding that you want to change, you want to look at ways to shift your mindset. And you want to remember that practice makes permanent. So you want to find ways that you can practice in small chunks. You want to know what's important through listening, and you want to practice, like I mentioned, and create new habits one at a time and doing them in small steps. And you want to have a compelling vision of what your long-term compass needs to be driving towards. And we've talked a little bit about community, and I've just talked about what the heck? Sorry. I don't know what just happened here. Get that out of there. And does that, oh my goodness. Here's something, let's wing it. Okay, good. I'm sure you guys are all seeing that. All right, back up. I don't know why that's happening. All right, we were on mind shift strategies. I don't know why this is doing.
Tyra, we can see it. It's just smaller.
I know, but I'm trying to get this out of here.
Right.
Love and learn. I mean, I had everything shut down on my computer. Technology is quite the joy. Let me quit it. That might be what I didn't do. Or it's meant to keep me miserable. Okay. All right. Yay. All right. Technology is my favorite friend these days. So what I wanted to say, and I apologize for that, you guys, but just know that that's just the way life is sometimes. So thank you for your patience. What I want to talk about community is something that came up just the other day for me, and it has to do with the quote from Jim Rohn, which is, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And then just a couple of days ago, there was this message on LinkedIn that I thought was crazy perfect for these times. It's, if you look at the people in your circle, you could say circle of influence, if you look at the people in your circle and don't get inspired, then you don't have a circle, you have a cage. So you want to be surrounding yourself with like-minded, supportive colleagues that are either going where you're going or have already been there, and you want to seek them out and know that they'll be a source of guidance and support and probably connections, and they'll have resources and you can collaborate on solutions, and it expedites this practicing phase that you might be in and what you're trying to learn. So what I've created as a result of the success that my groups had earlier in the year is a mindset mastery group program. In this particular case, it's 6 weeks. It's a mindset accelerator. It's intended to be for people that want to look a little bit deeper at their mindset and practice some mindset mastery in a community. So we'll have some group coaching calls. We'll have obviously support from myself and the people that are in the community. There'll be a private Facebook group where we'll be conversing and sharing and providing some things. And this is where you're going to master the results pyramid and look at those foundational layers for sure. And we developed a concept called accountability partners for this program. So you'll have a partner that will allow you to be honest and open with them and to help you hold yourself accountable. That's the nature of it. And so the program special for this webinar is $327. And you'll also receive a fulfillment formula audio program. And the way to register for this is to go to tyrajarvis.com, mindset-group. And I think groups, what I've seen, you know, I couldn't do what I'm doing now or even previously alone. It's been the groups that have contributed to me and allowed me to contribute to them that have made it a safe place to learn something new and then go out and practice it. And it's not cheerleading. It's not silly stuff. It's really important stuff that you can get from this community of people. So if you have any questions about it, put it in the group, message me privately, but I would encourage you to consider a group program, if not this one, like this one, to get the support that can really help you. One of the things that we'll talk about a little bit in more detail is this results transformation cycle, which is a cyclical thing that can actually repeat itself throughout your life and work in any area of your life. And it starts with a desire. That could be a desire to not be here anymore or a desire to be someplace else. But it's really, and it stems from what's most important to you. So there's some assessment work in here to really identify what's truly important. Because for this work to happen, it needs to be something that's important to you, or it won't maybe be worth the effort. Excuse me. So knowing what that is and really understanding why you want something different in your life. Maybe it's less stress. Maybe it's a better job. Maybe it's a more mastery in your speaking. Whatever it could be, it's either in the mindset space or a skill space, or it could be in a lifestyle space. So what would that really be for you? And the next step is to begin. But again, you have to begin small. And what we'll look for in this group is how to identify something that you can promise in 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, how you can move through. And then once you've developed the muscle for one, then maybe come back and maybe do something else. But it's really focusing on one thing at a time and developing these skills and practicing them and getting support from your people in your community or your circle, or perhaps a group like the group that I'm offering. And once you've developed, a few weeks and you've gotten some like water under your wings, you can start to accelerate. And when you accelerate, you start to grow. And when you grow, you'll start to see changes in behavior. And again, that could be any area of your life. That could be maybe an opportunity at work. It could be, you've reached an ideal body weight. It could be your savings have increased. You could be that you have reunited with friends and you have relationships that are working better for you, even in this current environment. So that is the results transformation cycle. So we have a few minutes here. So if there's any questions, we'll make sure that we come back to those. But you want to just remember that mindset and self-care is part of that, because self-care, taking care of yourself first, is a mindset, is the only to-do that you never cross off your to-do list. And if you have a to-do list that goes endlessly, look to keep your mindset stuff first, so that you make sure that you set yourself up each day for your best contribution and your best effort. And you want to be a stand for not tolerating stumbling blocks. If there's something in your way, step aside or move it out of the way, whatever you have to do. And if you're not sure, ask somebody, is there something in your space that's causing you to limit yourself? And is that causing you to hiccup or to take a stumbling block and trip over it for sure? And mindset is your critical success factor. And as I showed in the pyramid, it's the base of the foundation and it's where everything starts. If you have a healthy mindset, you can adjust to any uncertainty, whatever comes and whatever's going to come next. And you'll be able to not only protect your mental state and your response to it, but your responses to it will be more in alignment with what you're about and what you want to create. And you won't become your circumstances. You're bigger than your circumstances. It will allow you to manage and deal with your circumstances. So which of the mind shift strategies will work for you? Is it community? Is it, having a clear vision? What might it be that's going to allow you to get some clarity, confidence, courage, and maybe community, and practice, so that practice will make some of this permanent for you. Just one more note on this quote here, because I thought it was pretty key, especially in these times. The bad news is time flies. It does. And as you get older, it definitely does. But the good news is you're the pilot and you get to control it and choose we all have 168 hours in a week. Is it aligned? Are you utilizing your time for the things that matter most to you? And are you spending the time in those spaces? And if you're learning something new, you need to be patient with yourself and not harsh and judgmental. You want to make sure that you give yourself time to learn and to practice and to come back and learn it again. And some of the best ways to do that is invest in yourself. And by doing that, it might be some training. It might be some other mindset resources. It might be, the program that I mentioned that we're going to be offering next week. It starts in August and it'll be 6 weeks. It's Tuesdays for 6 weeks. It's again at the same time from 11 to 12. We'll have worksheets and some exercises that we'll do, and we'll have a community to share them in, and it'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be a fun way to go about doing it in community for sure. So which mind shift strategy is going to work for you? So again, this is the group program. I encourage you to ask any questions, consider it. If it's something that you think you're interested in, I would really encourage you to sign up for it. Again, we're going to start next Tuesday. There's a special price for the webinar, and I would love to have you join us. We have some people already moving forward with the group, and it would be great to have you join them. So give some thought to that, and know that the calls will be recorded. So if the time frame doesn't work for you, that you'll have an opportunity both in the group and via email to listen to the recorded calls again. You'll all get the exercises that we're going to be walking through as we move through the blocks in the results transformation cycle. And it's really just about giving you an opportunity to practice something that's important to you and cause a breakthrough or shift in what might be stopping you and moving that forward. So I guess that's my last slide. So I just want to, thank you for your attention and for your interest and for your commitment to want to find out more about mindset and how mindset might be blocking you from having, a joyful life, or maybe the success or the results that you want. And it's difficult when there's so much going on in your environment, and you want to remember to control what you can control. And part of that's going to be really looking at things realistically based on what they really are, and making sure that you're choosing actions that are based on a non-filtered view of what's really going on, so that you really have your full self engaged in whatever it is that you're trying to create and whatever it is that you are about in the world. So hopefully you got some notes and maybe some ahas and some things that you might want to start to share. I certainly know that I need to quit mail before I start a webinar. So other than that, is there any questions, Katie?
Yes, Tyra, we have a question. Marcia was wondering if the PowerPoint will be available after the webinar.
Yes. Actually, we'll be sending out an email. The recording takes a little bit to get ready, so there'll probably be a couple of emails that'll follow, but immediately following the webinar, you should get a follow-up and the presentation, and then a subsequent email will go out with the recording. So thank you for the question.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any questions? If you want to drop them in the chat.
Anything. I'm happy to answer any questions. Does anybody have an aha that came up for them that, and an aha, I didn't really kick that off very well, would be something that you heard that I said that you would want to, write down, and I'm going to do something with this within the next 24 hours. Was there an aha that you might want to consider sharing with the group? Don't trust me, there's other people thinking the same thing too, so don't be shy.
Teresa says she had tons of aha moments.
Okay, good.
Time and money or resources.
Okay, yeah. I mean, my example about the scarcity conversation, I'll just tell you myself that after my husband had passed away in 2008, in 2009, I was doing a course with Landmark, and we did an exercise where we were asked by the leader to identify something that we always wanted, but we never had. And for me, it was to travel to Greece. I'm half Greek, and I wanted to go to Greece and connect with my ancestry. And I had tried to do it previously, and it just had never happened. And so so that's what it was. I wanted to go to Greece. I wanted to plan a trip to Greece, and I wanted to identify, and connect with my heritage and learn more about the culture and the people and everything like that. And what ended up happening is the next question was, well, what's stopped you, right? Which is exactly what we've been talking about. And I said, well, I don't have the time and I don't have the money. And so the question was, take time and money off the table. It's not a factor. And what would be the next right action that you would take? And for me, it was, well, I would plan where it is I want to go visit. And then I would figure out how much that might cost. And I would maybe take the Rosetta Stone and start to improve my conversational Greek. And I would start to figure out who wanted to go with me. And I would figure out not only how much it would cost, but what amount of time did I want to be gone. And then I would look at my schedule and I would go, well, where would I want to put it? And when I did that, I found out that I had the deposit. I could put the deposit down. I had plenty of time to plan the cost of the trip. So this was in December of 09. My neighbors and I got together right after that, and we planned our trip. And in September of 2010, we did an amazing, life-altering 3-week trip to Greece. And I don't know that I ever would have done it if I hadn't realized how limiting my view and my scarcity conversations were around time and money. So thank you for that question. I hope that example kind of maybe shared a little bit about how it plays tricks on us.
Definitely. Tyra, we also have Deb. She endorses you. She took your 6-week course in the spring, and it was excellent. So
thank you, Deb.
And then we also have Lily. Great, loves the quote about people in cages.
Oh, yeah, I did too. Yeah, I mean, I think when I look at I became exposed to tolerations when I did my coach training back in 2012. And I mean, it was a word to me. It didn't really have the same significance that it has now. And a toleration is anything that you're putting up with that's draining your energy and draining your creativity. And I use with my clients, I use an assessment. It's 100 questions and there's 25 in each of 4 areas. And one of them is physical spaces. And you look at your home and where you are with your files and paper and your car and clutter. And we might think that those things don't matter, but they're in the background. You see them. You might not think they are, but they're running in the background. And so it's distracting. And then we look at emotional health and well-being. And that could be, are your physicals all current? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you doing what you need to do to be emotionally and physically well? And then the money space was key. Do you have your stuff in order? Do you have your trust in order? One of our clients in the 8-week course, had dragged kind of the whole notion about updating her trust. And she'd bought a new house and she'd moved and, she was single and really, the trust was going to be very important. Well, through the course of that week, she made that a priority and was able to get it done. But it's looking at those things that are incomplete. Incompletions drain on us, right? And then the other one is relationships. Who are you saying yes to that you should be saying no to? And one of the things I've discovered for myself is I don't like saying no to people. And what that means is that, when I say yes to somebody else, it's a no to me. So it's pretty easy to have that conversation in the holidays when we're getting all these invitations and we're doing all these things. But are you saying yes enough to you? And are you saying yes to some people in your cage or in your circle or in your top 5 or outside your top 5 that really aren't serving you being the version of yourself that you really want to be? So anyway.
Yep. We have a few questions around private coaching. Any suggestions on books on brain science and controlling your time? And then just a few comments on planning to live in France for a month. Marsha wants to start that process, and Susan loves the reinforcement to surround myself with people who inspire me.
Well, I'll start with the France one because that's I'm most familiar with. You need to get out into the future and create a compelling personal vision for what that's going to look like after you've come back. So when you're done, what did it look like? What did it feel like? What did you do? Where did you go? Who did you meet? You want to get as descriptive as you can about that experience that you want to create. And then you unfold backwards and you look at your current reality and you figure out what the gap is. And it's really a project. You need to make a plan on how you're going to tackle it. And it needs to be in small pieces. But it starts with that vision and really knowing why you want to do it. And if you can get in touch with the feeling that you want to have as you're there, when you come home, about how great that experience is going to be, that's going to really work for you. I want to think a little bit more about the other questions, but I will definitely do that. And I'll work to put those in an email for sure. Around
Perfect.
the book. I've been a student of the time stuff. I did some work with another coach. Her name's Marsha Ramsland, Ramsland, and she works on time management for busy people. And there's a Better Homes and Gardens article about the 168-hour work week and how you create an ideal week for yourself. That really, I thought, was pretty profound in looking at what you really are spending your time on. I mean, that's the best place to start, is start doing a log on what you're spending your time on, and then ask yourself, is that really serving me? But tons of books and tons of things. I just have to think about that a little bit. One of the things, not brain science, but the book that I just finished was The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. And he's a software engineer that's made it into this mind space, really is what it is. And his book, I recommended on Audible. I'm re-listening to it now. I think anything in that space is really key for sure. I use Deepak and Oprah's meditations. And one of the other resources that I really love that's part of my morning routine, Darren Hardy is the former CEO of Success Magazine. He has a little freebie that goes out Monday through Friday that's like a 5-minute success mentoring message called Darren Daily. I highly recommend that. So, was there any other questions?
No, not at this time. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat.
The private coaching question, I do offer a free coaching session on my website. If you go to my website, tyrajarvis.com, and under free, you'll see a free ebook that I offer, which is about how to get present to what really matters for you to have an extraordinary life. And then my free coaching invitation is there as well. There's a little questionnaire that you fill out, and I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody that's either considering the group or considering private or considering what might be what's next for you. I'm happy to talk to anybody. So appreciate that.
Great.
So we're at the top of the hour. I do definitely appreciate your time and your attention, and I really appreciate the questions and the Q&A. If anything comes up afterwards, feel free to email me or contact me. I'm happy to have a follow-up conversation with anybody. Consider the group. If it's the right thing for you right now, I would encourage you to find a way to make it happen. It can be really powerful for sure. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
Have a great day, guys.